Hey guys, I'm Si. Welcome to A.C.E Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Football Show, and this is episode number 54. The show is live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, hopefully. A.C.E Podcast Nation is also the home to many great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So please give us a follow on social media and of course subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's the best way and the most direct way to support the channel, the show. And you can find the links to all of those fantastic things in the description below and in the end credits at the end of the show. And of course, you can find the show's social media pages at A.C.E Footy Show everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, the works. And of course, as usual, I would like to thank our sponsors. Give a big shout out to Black Diamond Sport for all their support. They're a global sports agency which represents sports stars around the world. For more information, you can visit their social media pages, also in the description and in the end credits. And a massive thank you to Darren Rolson and Bespoke Financial for sponsoring the show. And we're just going to have a quick word from them before we get going.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told Mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, and we thank Bespoke and Darren for sponsoring the show, of course. They specialise in life insurance, critical illness, income protection, mortgages and sports cover. So again, big thanks to them. So as we get along to it, and we're going to talk football and lots of other stuff, I am delighted to welcome, first of all, my usual co-host, the goal collector, the fox in the box, Mr. Andrew Campbell, ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough legend. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, very. I've been looking forward to this one. This is a show which it's like the People's Champion that our guest tonight has been. Is just everyone's desperate to have you on, mate. So I'm really excited for it, and I can't wait for all the questions and all the feedback and some of the stories because I've heard and I've seen good things. So I'm really excited.
Indeed, it's going to be good. So of course tonight's guest.
Thanks for that, Andy. That's
all right. Good build up, that wasn't it?
That's the nicest thing you're going to get for the next hour and a half. So tonight's guest, of course, he started his professional career at the biggest club in the world, Manchester United. He cut his football. He didn't play for Liverpool, did he? He cut his footballing teeth under arguably the greatest manager of all time in Alex Ferguson, and then he went on to win titles and the Welsh Cup with the biggest club in Wales, and has also been a manager himself, making over 200 appearances in the Football League, played for Republic of Ireland at various levels. We're delighted to welcome Mr. Derek Brazil. How are you, mate?
The People's Champion. Thank you very much.
People's Champion. Good, isn't it?
Boys. I'm good, actually. Glad to be finally on the show.
Ooh, that was a dig, that. That's a dig.
I know that. If it's any consolation, I've been saying to Andy probably for about 6 months, we should ask Derek, but he said, nah, I don't want him.
Fair one.
You know, what can we do, mate?
Big pressure following Emil Heskey, mind.
Yeah, no pressure. No pressure.
Same ramping up, mate.
Same amount of goals.
That's it.
That's what I said.
Same build.
Same pace, apparently.
Yeah.
No, we're ramping up, mate. The guests are just getting bigger and better. That's what it is. It's
Who's
like
gone after me, then?
The main event. Well, you know, what's his name?
Who's next after me?
I'm not going to say that name just in case he ends up coming on.
That's
So,
good.
yeah.
I'll be on that. Really good.
It is
Really,
good.
really
It's going to be a good one. I'm enjoying it. Enjoying it already after my technical glitches before we started. So, Derek, what we'd like to do to start us off, let the people get to know you a bit, is the Magnificent Seven quickfire questions. You just got to answer the first thing which comes to mind. So, let's have a look what we've got. Derek Brazil, Magnificent Seven. Messi or Ronaldo?
Ronaldo every time.
Cardiff or Swansea?
Really?
Got to ask you, aren't you? Ex-Swansea
Cardiff.
player. Favourite TV show?
Anything with football on it.
Angriest teammate?
Paul Ramsey.
Best roommate?
Russell Beardsmore at Man United.
Worst trainer?
Phil Stant.
The greatest Irishman that ever lived?
Me da.
What an answer. See,
Great
that's
answer.
That is how you do quickfire questions.
Yeah.
You answer them quickly.
Bang, go
No
on.
one else seems to get that. But there we go.
So on that note, then, Derek, you know what I mean. Sorry to butt in
No, you're
there.
right.
So you mentioned your dad because he was something that I wanted to talk about, and I know we're going to do any other business, but like just seems a perfect time to throw it in that family played a big role in your life and a big role in sport in general. That your dad was a superstar in the sporting world. Your brother played football as well. So tell the viewers about your family upbringing in sport and especially your dad.
Well, my dad was a decent footballer. So much. He played for Shamrock Rovers in Dublin. And at the age of 17, 18, he went to Blackburn for a month's trial. They wanted to sign him, but he missed me ma so much that he went home. And my grandfather turned around and said to me dad, who was obviously going out with me ma, said, "You stupid Egypt," or some words like that. "Get back over to England and make a career." And he said, "No." He said, I don't want to go. I miss your daughter, my mother. And I came after that. So I was the product of my dad coming back. Mm-hmm. So he's such a big influence on my life still. I mean, I played Gaelic football from the age of 10 to 13. So I didn't actually play soccer or football till I was 13 years of age. And he had a big influence on asking me to. He said, "Why don't you play football?" And he's always been a big influence. He acted as my agent when I was with Ron Atkinson when I signed for Man United. When I turned down Man City, Chelsea, and Tottenham, he wasn't such an influence then, but he let me make my own mind up. You know, when anyone who's met me dad, and I'm sure there's loads of people watching us on Facebook. My dad's unique, and I know a lot of people can say that about their dads, but he is unique. If you meet him once, you'll never forget him. He's one of them. So that's why I say he's my hero, you know. What a
lovely tribute though. What a lovely thing to say, you know, that, you know what I mean, we all and I think lockdown especially has made us all realise how important family is. But I think especially sometimes when you play sport and I found that a little bit that when you're away from home and you move away and you're in a different country and you don't see people as much and you rely on people, you know what I mean, yes, you can pick the phone up, but it's not the same. And you know what I mean? You sometimes you just need to go and have a pint with your dad or just have a cuddle with your mum. Or, you know what I mean? Family plays such a huge role. And I just hope that lockdown has brought families close together. And you know what I mean? Those who are really unfortunate lose loved ones.
Particularly my family, my mum and dad, they're in their 70s now. And my ma is, I'll tell you a little story later on when you go about my career and stuff. But my ma's the rock of the whole family. She's very quietly gives her advice, and I remember the day when I was 17, I went to West Ham. I was going for a month's trial, and it was in the days, believe it or not, that I'd never been on a plane by the time I was 17. I'd never been on my own doing that. We just used to go to Butlins in Ireland, and that was it. And I remember being on the plane going to London, and everyone was smoking on the plane. That's how long ago it was. People were just smoking away, and I thought, this is the strangest thing ever. But my ma, I mean, I've got 3 brothers and a sister, and when I went away, my sister was 5 at the time, and now she's like, nearly 35, 38 or something like that, with 2 kids. But I was only thinking the other day, when I left home at 17, my mum and dad were in their 40s. And it's really weird to think when I was in my 40s, what I was thinking, and would I allow my son to go away? It's really hard to think, but the two of them they've been so helpful, and lockdown, they've discovered Zoom, and like the whole thing. They've discovered so many things in lockdown, which is Zoom and WhatsApp videos and stuff like that. And I'm hoping to go and see him in September, which would be
great stuff.
It'd be great,
But you can't wait.
It's a long old time, isn't it? It's been a long time, like.
Great start. Great start of the show. I like that.
Yeah. So I'm going to make you tell the story about you signing for Man United again in a minute, just because even though we talked about it on the last time you come on, it's just such a good story, and you are the king of storytellers. So going to do it. It's just going to make you repeat it. But so before we get into you, Derek, what we'd like to do is any other business, we just talk about some of the stories going around for the week. And
if anybody's seen Twitter, though, by the way,
they already know what's coming.
To rip people's heads
pop.
off. He's not happy.
I'm not happy. Look, I got no dog in the fight whatsoever. I don't give two hoots whether Huddersfield Town go up, down, sideways. I don't care. But before the Cowley brothers come in, Huddersfield were down, and they were going down fast. So they were brought in to steady the ship, to repair the season, to save the season. And they did that. They kept them up, unless there's a 10-0, I think it's got to be, or something tomorrow or Wednesday. And they've binned them off with a game to go. Now, all right, if at the end of the season they want to say, thanks for, you did your job, thanks for coming in, thanks for saving the season, we're going to go in a different direction, I still would be like, it's not a great look, but it's fair enough. But by doing it before the end of the season, I think it gives football such a grimy feel. And they're not the only ones. Nigel Pearson gone from Watford, pretty much.
My point with that one, Si, for me is timing of things. So Watford waited to sack Nigel Pearson after Bournemouth lost against Southampton, which meant they're more or less safe.
Yeah. Well, the Cowley brothers just beat West Brom.
That's my point. So why a chairman? If the plan was to sack Nigel Pearson, for example, sack him after you got beat by West Ham. You got beat by West Ham on Friday night. Was it 3-1 or whatever it was? Sack him then. You know what I mean? And then people, I can swallow it a little bit. It can be justified, but it just doesn't make mathematical sense. Doesn't make ethical sense to me to sack managers with after results, after league positions. This is a dog-eat-dog world, by the way, and it's a difficult position. The managers are in, it's not an easy job. You know what I mean? The Derek will tell you later on about being a manager. It's not a nice job. You know what I mean? You win a game, you can't enjoy it. And Nigel Pearson's been there, wore the T-shirt. And it's just so. I'm gutted for him because he's next teammate of mine. He's my old captain of Middlesbrough, and I think he deserved a little bit more respect on what he's been given. Really.
He did. Derek just took a tumble, I think.
Derek's doing gymnastics live on TV.
I don't know what happened there. It's just I'm trying to charge my phone, boys, because there you are. How's that? It'll get a bit better because I'm charging my phone. I've got the worst phone ever. Look at it. Oh my God. I can hear you.
So what I don't get about it, the Nigel Pearson thing and the Cowley brothers, is I think they deserve a bit more respect than that for the jobs they did. They kept their respective clubs up, and the thing is, what was the need to sack him yesterday before Wednesday in Huddersfield? What possible difference does that make other than it's going to probably irritate the fans and the team, the players? Yeah. Because the players obviously were still playing for him because they just beaten second in the league.
I totally agree.
I think it's just all-round bad luck. And then they've made an approach for Leeds United's under-23 manager, who's also the assistant manager. So it's clearly they're looking for a new manager to play a certain way. But I don't feel as if I feel like they could have waited until after the season was complete. It's 2 days. Just give them the respect they deserve.
I think you can look at the positives as well, though, for the Cowley brothers. I think Lincoln City did a great job. Huddersfield, I see what they've still done as a success. They've saved the club from, for me, was sure relegation. So I'm sure that they'll get another opportunity next time around, and I'm quite positive they'll get a really good job. There's quite a lot of jobs coming available. Bristol City, Birmingham. I'm not sure what's happening in Middlesbrough. So there's quite a few jobs which potentially would suit those two down the ground, and then they go from there. So there's still. I think the glass is still half full for those two, and I think they've got an opportunity to progress, to be really, really good managers, and see this as a stepping stone rather than a negative.
Yeah, and like I said to you yesterday, and it'll be interesting. And obviously, Derek, you're a Man United fan. Be interesting to see if Manchester United stick by David De Gea after he's had a terrible season. And the fact is, he stuck with them for what, 6 years, 7 years of him being not very good, him being the player of the year every season. Will they show him the loyalty, which I know he nearly left, but since that fax machine incident, he's kept his gob shut and he's just gone with it, and he's been exceptional. Now this season he's been rubbish. Will they show him the same loyalty? I don't think so, but we'll see. What do you reckon, Del?
To be honest, right, I've listened to TalkSport on and off today, and there's more talk about what De Gea did than actually giving Chelsea credit.
Yeah.
So it's like, De Gea's done this, De Gea's done that. I think no one wants to be a goalkeeper, do they?
No.
Because you're more like a villain more than a hero most of the time, because you make mistakes. But I think De Gea will be stood by Solskjaer. I'll be surprised, because if he drops him for the next 2 games, what does that say to his career at United? And bearing in mind, United were 19 unbeaten with De Gea in goal. So he had an off day yesterday. I know he's made more mistakes recently than usual, but he had an off day yesterday. But he wasn't the only one. And to be honest,
but on that point there, Derek, I agree on that point though, that he had an off day. A few of the players had an off day, but also the manager had an off day with his team selection, because he changed the team around.
Needless change.
He changed the team where Frank Lampard kept his tried and tested. It was a semi-final in the FA Cup. Every player, regardless of tiredness, wants to play in an FA Cup final, semi-final, so at Wembley. So
yeah. Do you think he tried to be too clever?
I don't know what he tried.
United have been flying.
Yeah.
And to change the system that they haven't played in the last 19 games shows that he feared Chelsea. It should be the other way around.
Well, they've beaten Chelsea 3 times this year.
Yeah. I think Solskjaer admitted he picked the wrong team, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah. But the thing is, I know they're going for that holy grail. They've been on a really good run. In hindsight, they'll have probably dropped a few points in the league and gone down the FA Cup route as their route to get to where they want to achieve. But for me, you're that close away from achieving something. Players, you don't get tired at this stage of the season.
Here's a question: Do you think
they just had a 3-month break?
Crowds there yesterday. Do you think he would have played his strongest team?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I think so.
100%. And if he didn't, he'd have known about it by half time and he'd have made subs earlier, because I'd have done it in the first half, because it was criminal what he did, and unfortunately or fortunately, fans vote with their mouths, and he'll have been told in no certain circumstances that he made the wrong choice, and he's had an absolute shocker. But there'll be nobody more hurt than Ollie today after watching the game again and realising which team he should have picked, which tactics he should have gone with. But too late now. You know what I mean? When he watches the FA Cup final, hopefully United have got that Champions League place, because if they haven't, he'll look back and it could massively haunt him.
He's put all his eggs in there, hasn't he? He's put all his eggs in that basket, I think. It better work out for him.
Yeah, I think for me, I know there's no loyalty in football. People say it all the time about players, don't they? But I think it's got to go both ways. And I think clubs show as little loyalty as what players do, especially to managers. Managers just... You're literally a couple of losses and you're done, aren't you?
It's Cowley brothers, Nigel Pearson. There's got to be something more going on in there, and you find that I think both of their chairmen are a little bit hot-headed in many ways. That they're quite reactionary, or if that's the word, or reactive.
Yeah. Well, I was reading the. Sorry to interrupt you, Dal. I was reading the Huddersfield comments in response to the post announcing it from the Huddersfield fans. And a lot of them seem to be indicating that the chairman, was basically trying to save money, and but also they seem to think that the Cowley brothers, their basic plan was to stay up, playing, not great football, but stay up, and then in the summer be given some money to spend to play a bit more expansive next year and push the club towards the Premier League. Now, the fans' opinion seems to be that they've gone to the chairman and said, right, this is the plan for the summer or for the break, and he's gone, nope, no money available, and he's binned them off where they've had a big row. Whether that's true,
but how's that saving them money? Because
they've got to pay them all off.
Well, you've got to pay people off. The season's starting again in a month. The transfer window's opening again in a month, or was opening again in a few weeks. So it's not saving any money at all whatsoever. And if that's an excuse just to get rid of a manager, for me, I think he deserves a little bit more respect. They both do, in terms of when he took over that job, they were absolutely doomed. They were bottom of the league. They had no points. They hadn't won for probably a season and a half. You know what I mean? It was drastic. You know what I mean? He had no players.
It makes you think that the decision was made before the West Brom game, because they've gone and beaten West Brom 2-1.
I totally agree.
Makes no sense, does it?
Totally agree.
So the decision has been made maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
And this is where it looks a bit laughable, though, because the chairman then is probably hoping that they get beaten that game, because then the decision is justified.
Got an excuse.
When now it just looks the most stupid decision ever, because next season Huddersfield could do a bit better. Of course they could, but you know what the Championship's like. You know what I mean? We've all watched it for years, and we've watched it very closely. But you've got to speculate to accumulate. You've got to spend some money and buy the right players in this league to emulate. Because you look at the teams coming down next year. Norwich, if they don't sell, they're going to be strong. Villa, if they'll sell Grealish, get 50 million quid in, and probably invest that back in the team. Bournemouth will probably keep the whole squad. You know what I mean? They'll probably lose a few players, but they'll keep the right nucleus. They're going to be strong, those 3 teams, and then you've got. It's going to be the hardest league ever. That's why it's the best league ever to get out of.
The top 10 teams in top 10 to 12 teams in the league have all had chances of getting in the playoffs. So that's how strong the Championship is already without them coming down.
Well, here's a question for you then. So before I'll go deep into lockdown then. So when lockdown finally came and got us. Did you both think that on Wednesday night you'd be talking about Cardiff City getting in the playoffs?
No.
Honestly,
no, I didn't. I thought
because having watched them, I watched them every home game. Obviously working there with Gary Bell.
Yeah.
Having watched them every home game, they were kind of just drifting mid-table towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
And then they come back. I've seen a few of the players before. During lockdown, out and about, and I think the first result they had was Leeds, and they beat them, which was a shock, probably to the Cardiff City players as well. Then we go to Preston and beat them. Then I think we drew a Charlton at home. So that initial impetus is kind of given us that. If we hadn't beaten Leeds Leeds and Preston away, 2 tough games, we wouldn't be in the position we are now.
Oh no, I totally agree.
And it's given us that impetus straight away to hang on. We're in that position now. Let's hang on in there. Bear in mind we've had what? 2 defeats? Is it 2 defeats since the Charlton game?
Yeah, one, isn't it?
That's only one. Isn't it only one?
Blackburn and Fulham away.
Oh,
Come
yeah,
on, boys.
Fulham, of course. Fulham, of course. Yeah.
Fulham away. Yeah.
Research, boys. Research.
Yeah. I think defensively, you know what I mean, the need, you know what I mean, I looked at the Middlesbrough game at the weekend, and for long periods they looked like Middlesbrough were never going to score, but then all of a sudden it's just switching off at the wrong times, and the Fulham game, you know what I mean, getting bullied by Mitrovic, you know what I mean, and for me, and I've said this on the show on Friday, that they're my biggest danger for me, you know what I mean, regardless of, you know what I mean, because Wednesday is it's not D-Day at all. It's important because you're going to get into the playoffs, but that's when the real pressure stuff starts and the real games come to, because the big players have to step up. Then there's no point getting in the playoffs and then crumbling.
Look at the 4 teams above us. Sorry, you say look at the 3 teams above us. Say West Brom do win and go up. The 3 teams above us in terms of Brentford, Notts Forest, and Fulham. I look at that and I think, okay, maybe, but we've got to be at our top form.
Yeah.
To
Can't
beat
make any
either
mistakes.
of them over 2 legs and win the game. I mean, those 3 teams in particular have been better than us all season.
Yeah.
Brentford is the one for me.
A big. I mean, I was hoping Brentford would win on the weekend, that we would get West Brom.
So was
I
that.
fancy us against West Brom over 2 legs.
Yeah, so would I. Well, I think they're not in very good form. You know what I mean? So I think they've had a terrible lockdown. And
Sorry, I'm back, boys.
they've had a terrible lockdown.
Go on.
They've had a terrible lockdown, and I just think it was just a one. Well, hopefully it's not a one-off result for Brentford, because you know what I mean. Because then it's they're going to have a.
I think the pressure got to them a bit.
They did, but then the pressure is going to get them in the playoffs as well. And same as Cardiff, you know what I mean? The games notoriously in the playoffs aren't very good games, but with no fans there, the good players are stepping up a little bit. And I seen Cardiff at the weekend against Middlesbrough, and attacking wise, Lee Tomlin. I just thought they were excellent going forward. I thought they were fantastic breaking away, counter attacking football. Mendes Lang. I just thought they were really, really strong. And but they need that more and more and more. Forget Wednesday. Wednesday's important, yes, but it's moving forward. It's the playoffs, because they're definitely going to get there over the.
My worry is that Cardiff lose Wednesday and Swansea win, but I think luckily Hull are pretty much. I know mathematically they think they can stay up, but they're down.
The problem Hull have got to win 3 or 4-0. So they've got to change their tactics. They can't sit and defend and nick a goal last minute, because it's no good for them. They've got to go and attack. And the problem they've got is when they attack, is they can't keep anything out. So they've got to they're in a catch-22 situation. 1 goal for Cardiff, and you've got the win and the draw. So
it'd be such a Cardiff thing to do, though.
Going back to your question, Andy, is that before lockdown did I see us in this position? If someone had said to us before lockdown, you've just got to beat Hull at home in your last game to get in the playoffs all day long. And we're in that position now.
And you know what? Every single player would have as well, Del, because every single player would have dreamed about this scenario, because they were so far off. They weren't playing great. They weren't playing with confidence. They probably didn't look as fit as they've done. So lockdown's done them some serious good. You know what I mean? I look at some other clubs that don't look as fit. Joe Rawls, for example, he looks like a man possessed, running all over, getting stuck in, winning his battles, and obviously he was struggling with a hip injury. So it's the little things. Harry Kane, you know what I mean, in the Premier League. So I think
with our players, Andy, with our City boys, is on any day, if we play well, we've shown that we can beat any team in the league. You know, having beaten Leeds, who are just promoted as champions, you know, we won 2-0 comfortably in my eyes. Yeah. So on the day, if our players perform, we can win a 2-leg. We can win, a playoff final. But we need all their players to be actually on song.
Yeah.
You've got to get his selection right as well, I think.
Apart from Tomlin, we haven't got that one standout star. If you look at the likes of Fulham, they've got 2 or 3. You know, Brentford, 2 or 3. So everyone's got to be on it, and you need luck as well. You need all that luck as well in those games.
Yeah, Lee makes a fantastic point there. Is if you look at the teams which are in the playoff places now, the 4 teams, is Cardiff have got a massive experience advantage over all of the other teams in terms of playing in the playoffs. Like Brentford, I don't think have done a great deal of playoff games. So you'd like to think that will help. But it's on the day. It's getting the tactics right, getting the team right. I was very, very happy to see Josh Murphy come on early because of an injury and score 2 goals, because he has taken some grief. And even on Saturday, when there was a few people on like Twitter giving him grief when they announced the substitution, and they was tagging him into it, abusing him, and he was going after the game. He was liking all the tweets which people had abused him in, which I thought was quite funny. But on his day, he's quality, but he hasn't been consistent enough, I think. And he's very frustrating.
Confident, I think that
it was only Middlesbrough as well, though, wasn't it? So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really count.
Well, that's it. That's it. Look at him now. It was only Middlesbrough. Yeah, come on, the Bluebirds on Saturday.
Are they still in our league, Middlesbrough? Are they?
Yeah.
The league lies anyway. The league lies.
On Saturday, he was like this. Come on, Middlesbrough! As soon as the game finished, get in, Cardiff.
Couldn't win. I couldn't lose. Couldn't lose, could I?
Yeah,
Many hats.
So, all right, just before we move on, I just want to touch on a couple of other things. We mentioned United, so we'll kind of stay with that, and we'll go with the FA Cup final, FA Cup semi-finals, and obviously we know who the final is now. Man United got their tactics wrong. They weren't very good. Chelsea were very good. Were you surprised by Arsenal?
Didn't watch it.
Well, they beat Man City 2-0, so that
I
tells
know
you
they did,
all you
but-
need to
but-
do.
When I seen the result, I didn't actually watch the game, but when I seen the result, I was shocked,
Very.
absolutely shocked, because Arteta though is going the right way there for me. I mean, he hasn't got all the players he wants, but he's changed. He's changed the way they look. They look harder to score against. He's got players playing probably in the right positions as well. In terms of he's got David Luiz playing well now, which is that's a miracle in itself.
Yeah, he was excellent though.
I
To be
think
fair, he's playing with confidence. He's the way he talks
Yeah.
as well after the game. You know what I mean? Everyone speaks so highly of Arteta, the way that he's trying to implement these things, and with a transfer window of bringing in his own players and his structure, he could be a top manager. You know, he's learned
Good,
from
and I think
best manager in the world.
I mean, having beaten. I mean, I spoke to an Arsenal fan today, and he said we beat the two best teams, probably in our league, so definitely in the league, and probably in Europe. They beat Liverpool 2-1, and they beat Man City 2-0 when no one gave them a chance.
Well, we
they've had
just
a good-
talked
they've had a
there
good
about
week.
consistency of Josh Murphy. I think Arsenal's biggest problem is they can't be consistent. Like on Saturday, they defensively looked very solid, but 3 or 4 games ago, they looked like they could lose by numerous amount of goals every game. I think Arteta's a young manager, so it's going to take a bit of time for him to really kind of get what he wants implemented. But
he's got a chance though, Si. He's got some good young players. He's got Tierney from Celtic left back. Who was excellent. Sacco, excellent. If Bamiyang,
I think he'll go.
If he stays,
He does need to shift a few, doesn't Andy?
Yeah.
He needs to shift a few so he can
100%. Yeah, but
get a bit of money, because I don't know where the money's coming from to actually get some players in.
Yeah, he has to. But I mean, the same thing again though. If you would never expected them to be in the FA Cup final, in the semi-final. So I mean, he's got himself in his first year as a manager. He's in an FA Cup final against Chelsea. You know what I mean? If he was playing probably Man United or Man City or Liverpool, I'd have probably said no chance. But Chelsea, Arsenal, it's a flip of a coin. You know I'm probably expecting Frank to win, but after beating Man City, just anybody can win because there's no fans going to be there. So it's going to be a strange FA Cup final. But whoever wins it will fully deserve it. You know.
Yeah, 100%. And in one word, we'll start with you, Andy. Who will win the FA Cup final?
I can't say that and then say Chelsea, can I? So I've got to say Arsenal.
Derek, who will win the FA Cup final?
Chelsea after extra time.
Shout. So our next story is, and I want to ask you both this question as ex-professional footballers. Both had a little stint in management as well, and doing coaching and stuff.
Little's the point for me.
Well, coaching as well. But so Jude Bellingham gone to Dortmund, following the likes of Jadon Sancho, Rabi Matonda went abroad, and other British youngsters who've gone abroad at a very young age, rather than in Bellingham's case going to United, but in any big Premier League club. So my two-part question really is: one, is it a good or a bad thing? And two, is this something that the big clubs should be concerned by? And Derek, we'll go to you first, mate.
I think first of all, at that age of 17, it's a very brave decision by him to go over there, because not just that he's going to be playing in a different league, he's going to have to probably learn the language. He's probably going to have to, try and adapt to a different style of play. He's probably looking at the Jadon Sancho route or Jadon Sancho route. He's probably looking at that because Bellingham could have had his pick of 5 or 6 top clubs in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Now, it's a big gamble for him, I think, to go out there. But he obviously is a confident boy. Whether his family's moving out there with him in terms of his parents, because I know his dad was involved in the whole negotiations.
His brother still plays for Birmingham, doesn't he?
Yeah. So, but by the time he signs like a 5-year contract, is there something like that? He's still only going to be 22, 23.
It's crazy, isn't it?
So if he does well, then I'm sure Birmingham have got sell-on clauses as well. So time will tell whether it's a good move by him.
We look at Jadon Sancho. They're on about 100 million for him to come back to the Premier League. What a gamble he made by leaving Man City. Then Man City wanted to keep him. Left Man City. Now going to come back for big bucks. And there's no reason why Bellingham couldn't do that with the experience of playing Champions League football for a top European club.
My only worry is if people are comparing the two, because they're two completely different players. And to think then 5 years' time that Jude's going to come back and be worth that kind of money. I hope he is, because he's an English player. He's obviously going to put himself in the shop window. It'll be good for England under 21s full squad moving forward for the future. Same as Derek, though. You know what I mean? It's a big call for a family to make, because I know his dad's definitely been involved in his deal. So he's not going to go there on his own. You know what I mean? He's going to go there, family and all. Everyone's going to help him there, settle in, learn the language, moving into a new house, a new lifestyle, new teammates, and it's going to take him a long time to settle in. And I just hope it works out for him, because people were saying about Man United, going to Man United, because you go to Man United, he's not going to play. You see the Man United, the players that they're bringing in, Fernandes, Pogba. He wasn't going to play. You know what I mean? So he would have had to get loaned out again to another club.
I mean, he wouldn't have got in
someone else.
If he'd have gone to United with the emergence of Mason Greenwood. Would he have got in before Greenwood?
No.
The way they're talking about Mason Greenwood now.
Yeah,
so you've got to look at that and think he wouldn't have played as much if he'd have gone to Man United. Maybe at Dortmund he will. And is the German league that strong? It's not as strong as the Prem, is it?
Top 4 or 5 clubs are good, and
I think they're bringing him in to give him game time. They're bringing him in to have him in the first team. So if that's sub playing, mixing him in, giving him an opportunity, they're not bringing him in to let him learn his trade.
They want him to be the next Jadon Sancho, don't they? They want to be able to sell him in 5 years' time for 200 million or whatever. But then for every Jadon Sancho who plays a lot, scores a lot of goals, there's also guys like Rabi Matonda, who's done exceptionally well at Schalke. I think it's Schalke, isn't it? He's done really well there, but he hasn't played the same amount of games as like Sancho has. He hasn't, he's taken time to settle. But again, brave decision to go out to foreign country, gamble on your own ability, gamble on the fact that you'll settle and this, that, and the other. So, do you think it's a good or a bad thing in terms of Premier League clubs? Should they be worried that these young players more and more seem to be choosing to go abroad rather than sign with them?
I think it's a good thing that players are wanting to broaden their horizons, learn a new language, have a different lifestyle. I think that's a really good thing to do. I think as a young player, because he may never come back to England. He might love it out there. He might excel. He might go to another country. I'll show that one. There we go. But he's played in the Championship. He's played 45 games or whatever. He's played in the Championship this season. He's had a really good season. So I think he's earned the right this year, after playing as a 16-year-old all the way through, to have a go at the Champions League or have a go at somewhere else. So I hope it works out for him, but time will tell.
And let's face it, if in a year's time it doesn't work out for him, Man United or whoever will probably still take him because of his age.
He comes back in the Championship, at the top end of the Championship, and he goes again, plays week in, week out. So
you take a gamble on him, wouldn't you?
For the boy, he's not going to lose out now. So for him, it's only going to be a positive.
Yes,
but for clubs, for English clubs, it's going to be a bad thing, because they're going to have to spend double to what Dortmund paid for him. So it's going to cost English clubs a lot more money now.
So Craig says there, does it say a lot about the Premier League that young players feel there's a better opportunity abroad?
We had the conversation with Emir last week, didn't we, about players being 23-year-olds. I don't know what you think about this, Derek, but 23-year-old and you still haven't made your first team debut, and I just think it's just such a waste for players, because you get to a certain end of your career or a certain time in your career where you need to play. And for me, if you've got to 20-year-old and you've not played at that certain club, then go and find a level which suits you best. And if that's dropping down a level or two, go and play week in, week out and make a name for yourself, instead of being 21, 22, 23 and then falling from a Premier League club to no club at all. It must be just absolutely heartbreaking, because it's not.
23 is a bit. I mean, I actually left Man United at 23 because of my lack of first team games at Man United. When Ferguson had offered me another 2-year contract to stay, but with the likes of Pallister and Bruce, at the age of 23, I decided to go and play league football.
You're the
So
second
you've got to
person
make that decision,
you're the second
you know?
person, Del, on our show from Man United who's turned down a contract at Old Trafford to leave to go and get first team football.
Yeah. Who's the other one?
John
Cantona.
O'Greenan. John O'Greenan.
John O'Greenan, yeah.
Turned down a
so-
3-year deal to go to Middlesbrough. Is that right?
Yeah, possibly
Yeah.
Stoke or Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
I can't remember which
Yeah,
one.
Middlesbrough.
So it is an interesting one. Richie says there, Gareth Bale is available on free. I reckon he should come home to Cardiff once we beat Fulham in the playoff final. However, before you answer, I will say Gareth Bale's agent said today that Gareth Bale is not interested in leaving Real Madrid. He will stay for the final year of his contract and see it out. And you know what? If I was him, I would do it as well, because they have treated him like absolute garbage. And if I was him, I'd stay out there and take my 500 grand a week as well.
So there's 650,000 reasons why he's going to stay to the end of his contract.
Yeah, and I don't think, judging by what Mehmet Dalman said when he was on the show, little plug for that, I don't think Cardiff can afford 600 odd grand a week, even if they pay half of it.
He'll end up in China or
It's the only
America.
place he can go, unless he goes to Man City, Man United, and Adidas foot the bill. It's the only way.
But you look at the story, though, fellas. For me, it's just an impossibility. And it's like, why would he want to put extra pressure on himself? The career he's had, he comes back to the Premier League, he comes back to a Cardiff, he comes back to where Man United. He's going to have so much pressure on him, to expectation to go and play well, score goals. Where for me, he's earned to finish the season at Real Madrid, have another year earning the money he's in, living in his villa, living in the sun, and then going to America, Australia, and just seeing out the rest of his career in the sun and just enjoying his life, because he's earned that right. Because for me, he should be enjoying his football now, instead of, you just know he's not, and that's the biggest shame for me.
Kelly makes a good point there, though. If he does see out the final year of his contract, he will not be fit for the Euros for Wales, which I think he does care about. And also, James says China have put a wage cap of 50 grand per week, so that could knock that out. And also, Gaz said on the YouTube chat that Bellamy did it. However, I think the Bellamy one is slightly different. Number one, Bellamy wasn't on anywhere near that amount of money. And also, in the Bellamy situation, Man City were happy to foot a large portion of the bill for that initial year, whereas Madrid won. If they get rid of him, I think they want him off the bill completely because of the amount of money that he's earning. And also, you're talking, I think Bellamy was probably on like 100 grand a week. So you're talking Cardiff may have had to find like 30 or 40 grand, whereas Bale's on, I think, 500 grand a week. Something stupid. He earns the most money per week from a wage for any footballer in the world. So
there's not many Premier League clubs who can afford that kind of money, regardless.
No, that's why I said Man United, Man City. I think are the only two who would be able to. But yeah, I think Gareth Bale's Cardiff supporter as well, though, I believe, because he's from Whitchurch, isn't he? But you know, it's a pipe dream, I think, and I would honestly, if you gave me the choice between having Bale or Ramsey for Cardiff City, I would take Ramsey over Bale. I know that seems stupid, but I just think Ramsey's a really special player, and I believe the Juventus only signed him on a free so they could flog him for 15 million in the next window. I think that was their plan all along. But there we go. Anyway, how has the lockdown treated the Brazils? Let us find out. Hated it.
Hated every minute of it, to be honest.
Apart from when you got to speak to me.
Well, yeah. Apart from like the podcasts and stuff like that, and speaking to family, because I'm on Facebook, obviously, and I've seen so many people on Facebook going, "Oh, I love lockdown. I've stayed in. I've reevaluated myself and all that." I swear to God, I'm looking and thinking, stop lying. You hate as much as everyone else. I actually hated it because I'm an outdoor person and I'm a people person. I absolutely detested it. It was like, it was what it was, lockdown. I was going nuts. Going so nuts that like I dyed my hair blonde one day because I was bored. Another days I'd sit in my window and sing to people out the window. It was just horrific. And anyone who can say, oh yeah, fair enough, you can say like, oh, it was great to spend time with your family and stuff. I mean, my daughter lives with her mum. Obviously we're separated, and I didn't see her for like 4 weeks. Hated it. And she's 10 years of age, and her birthday was in lockdown as well. I hated everything about it. I mean, it was just. I mean, I understand. I mean, the amount of work that people are doing, key workers, and people who've worked in care homes who haven't seen their families for 12, 13 weeks. It's for me. It's been like life was stopped. Did I explain that well enough there? I just felt it out, and it was just,
no. Well, I think it's all
right. Good.
Yeah, but what I mean, that's the thing, Del. For me, social media. What I mean, it plays such a role in people's lives, and sometimes it can be such a lie and such false hope. And what I mean, I look at it. What I mean, for me, if it wasn't for the nice weather or better weather what we had, it would have been even worse, because if this was in the winter, it would just be an absolute nightmare. What I mean, having young kids, having to tell them that they can't go outside, looking through the window, what I mean, having them in the garden, it was just an absolute nightmare. And when you see people, what I mean, I stuck to the guidelines as strict as I could. And when you see Boris Johnson telling me that I'm allowed to go out for 1 hour exercise a day, I did, because that was what I'm told. So when you see people going for 3-hour bike rides, 4-hour bike rides, well, that annoyed me a little bit, because what I mean, I'm doing what I'm told to do, and I'm doing it because I want to get out of this as soon as I can. So when this dragged on longer than it should have done for me, that's because everybody didn't do what we should have done, and that winds me up a little bit. What I mean? Because obviously it's not going away, and it's not going to go away for me for the foreseeable. So I'm just hoping. I'm just hoping that everyone can stay as safe as we can, and we can just move on and get some proper normality back. And I mean proper sport, proper family time, proper mingling with friends, and just get back to a life, just a life which is normal, and not the new normal, because the new normal is not normal.
Yeah.
It don't help that they keep changing their mind, though, does it? Do you know what I mean?
The new Derek Brazil hair is not normal, so we'll just go with it.
It was a lot blonder than this, but I think, I don't know, it was just something just to do, because there was no football on the telly. I watched so many stuff on box sets and stuff, and with my girlfriend, she just watches like cookery programs and people doing up houses. I'm like, oh my god, I can't be doing with it. I can't be doing with it, and it was just horrific at times. Yeah. But the good thing was, when you said about social media, I found myself getting in touch with more people through either ringing them, people I hadn't spoken to in ages, FaceTiming them, and that was nice to actually reconnect with people and have time to do it. But when I have too much time on my hands, I'm a pain in the arse, boys. I've got to be fair. I get very restless and stuff.
So, Del, you mentioned social media there, and I'm going to skip right ahead. You open the door, so I'm going to smash it down. Are you glad that there was no social media when you were a player?
Definitely.
Why?
Definitely, because, well...
And camera phones.
Listen, I go out now, and if I meet people now, they sometimes say, "Can we have a picture with you?" and all that, which is great. I never refuse people. But in my era, players, particularly at Man United, and probably more so when I was in Cardiff, we would go, as players, we'd go out, 6, maybe 10 of us go out. We'd probably go out once during the week, and then maybe a Saturday after a game. And, not that we'd get up to anything bad, but it was just, people can take photographs and make things up about them.
Yeah. They could change the narrative and the context,
exactly.
Can't they?
Imagine years ago, I'm married at the time. Someone says, "Can I have a photograph with you, with a girl," or something. With me, if that was Twitter now or something, you could just make any story you wanted up. Just like that. So I think in our day, and Andy's day probably as well, social media is great now. And I think the lockdown has showed us social media can be used in the right way. But back in our day with the Cardiff City boys, there's no way you would want social media. But I
love it. I love it now, because, like you say, it's a good way to connect to people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But connect in the right way. You know what I mean? I can have my opinion. You can have a rant, and you can do it in the right way. You know what I mean? And you can take it as light-hearted or as serious as you want to take it. But going back to your point there, if you know what I mean, we could have gone to the pub on a Sunday afternoon, and all it takes is somebody taking a photo of your table and seeing 7 or 8 pints, and there's you on an all-day bender. You know what I mean? But that's just one drink, and then you're going home, and it's just everything's portrayed to be something else.
The difference between your day and our day, those 7 or 8 pints were probably ours.
Yeah, I know they were.
Yeah, they
So-
were probably ours. So
You got
Yeah.
to remember though, because well, fortunately or unfortunately, you know what I mean. Fortunately on a Sunday morning because the hangover kicked in, but it was the Brian Robson, Viv Anderson, Gordon McQueen era. So they obviously learnt their trade at Man United, and I fell into that. Well, literally fell into it. You know what I mean? It was
That's
it was a
You've
it was a
said
tough
Brian
school.
Robson.
Tough school.
Brian Robson, Viv Anderson, Norman Whiteside, Paul McGrath, particularly the two boys. I was at United with Viv Anderson and Brian Robson, so I know exactly. They loved the Sunday session.
Yeah.
So, and they used to grab youngsters in and go, "Come on, you're all right, you're all right." Because you used to look at them and go, "These are top lads," and all that. You'd go.
Yeah.
But what you didn't realise was they were off on the Monday and you were in training.
Listen, we used to get a phone call on a Sunday morning from the gaffer. The gaffer used to ring a Sunday morning and say we're all meeting in the Black Bull in Yarm on a Sunday. So we meet there at 11 o'clock. We'd stay there till about 4 or 5 o'clock. He would leave. He'd stand up and leave. And his last advice to everybody would be, make sure you're in training tomorrow. And then you get to training tomorrow. He wouldn't be there. He'd have he'd have a day off because he's the manager. He does what he wants. And
Robbo was great, wasn't he? Did you get on with Robbo?
He was like a dad to me.
Fair.
He was absolutely amazing. Yeah, he was like and I mean that, like a father figure. He was, you know what I mean. He, on and off the pitch, he was great, and you know what I mean. He taught me the best and probably the worst about football and about, you know what I mean, the socialising and stuff, because it brought like the togetherness that I saw, you know what I mean, from a young boy going up to you know, until I left the club, was just amazing. And he was a hero off the pitch for me and a hero on the pitch because of what he achieved in football.
From the age of 17 to say 23, that was the years that I knew Robbo. And obviously he was, you know, England captain and obviously Man United captain and stuff. And I mean, he was such an influence on all the youngsters, not just the first team, but his influence on all us youngsters. He always had time for you. He'd always come and see how you were and what you're doing, drop you hints and stuff and all that. But he was brilliant, Robbo. I absolutely loved him.
Yeah, I love him. He's just amazing. He had a huge impact on my career. Gave me my debut, and when he I've never made a secret of this. When he left Middlesbrough, something left me. You know what I mean? It was just I was heartbroken, and you know what I mean. It wasn't the same. So it was just it was a really, really sad day.
Derek, you mentioned there about you know, back in the day there was a drinking culture, and I don't think that was unique to United. There was just a general thing, and I mean, even when I was so what am I now? I'm 40 next year, so like even when I was playing sport in my 20s,
you're older than 40.
No, even when I was playing sport in my early 20s. There was still like a drinking culture everywhere, just in, you know, in amateur sport and that. But like back in your day, there was there. These days, it's changed. Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing that culture has largely gone within the squads and the teams? Because for me, I think it builds such a togetherness that I wonder whether it has an impact on how team spirit is. Generally,
listen, don't be fooled. Teams now, they still have a good old drinking bonding session.
They just do it in their mansions.
It's somewhere private. It's somewhere, you know, that the players are. There's no one else, and they'll sit down. Not on our day where we'd end up going to the wine press in town or the bank or whatever. I mean, but the difference now with the drinking culture and be able to do that, there's so much more at stake now. Players are on, 15, average players in the championship are on 12 to 15 grand a year. Sorry, a week, 12 to 15 grand a week. Whereas we were on, 400-500 quid. So it was just, I'm not saying that's different, but there's more responsibilities of players now. And there's so many checks in terms of, you know, how fit you are and what they test you for and stuff like that. But don't get me wrong, if 4 or 5 of the boys want to go on a session, they'll go on one, but it'll be very private.
Yeah.
I don't think you can change that mentality of players brought up.
Yeah.
But and I think that and I don't think it's a bad thing as long as it's done in the right time in the right place. You know what I mean? Because we all need a release, and whatever that release is, it works and it helps. You know what I mean? That you look at the celebrating what Leeds United have been doing, what Liverpool have been doing. they're still allowed to do it, but you don't see them in a pub or falling out of a pub or a nightclub. They do it in a hotel behind closed doors in a room. Somebody put a video on Instagram or something, and people are dancing, having fun. But yeah, every single one of them players has got a bottle of lager in the hand. Leeds United's bus on Sunday after the derby game. Every single player's got a bottle of lager in the hand, and rightly so. So they should. They deserve it. They've had a tough season, but at the same time, fans understand. You know what I mean? If that's a team who's got relegated as well, for me it's the same thing. Players are allowed to have their own time and the downtime, and however they decide to do it, as long as it doesn't affect their performance and their ability to go and play, and they're willing to go and play, then for me, I'm all fine with it.
Indeed, 100%, mate. So, Derek, Donna Perry says, can you tell the story about you, Lee Sharp, Keith Gillespie on the bus where you had a photo taken, which became your avatar pic? Wanted to ask at the time, but didn't want it to appear nosy. Is it after 9 o'clock?
Just 9:30.
That was taken last October in Bulgaria, where we went for 4 days, Man United Legends game, and we had a long journey on the bus, and then we had a night out after the game, and then I couldn't find, literally, we couldn't find our hotel, so we stayed out, and we had a few drinks. So we had about an hour's break. You know, and you know what ex-players, Andy, you'll tell you, when you get together, you know, we're in their 50s, some are in their 60s, and you just think, wow, I'm out again. I can just let's have a drink. Now, how long can I stay up? And you stay up till about 7 in the morning, and then you're on the coach to go somewhere else the next day, and someone tapped me and called, I think David May threw something at me. So I turned around like that, half asleep, and then someone took a photo and obviously sent it to me, and that was my avatar. So it was just me just trying to be young again and looking about 90. Excellent. But it was probably Keith Gillespie and the boys' fault really for keeping me out, because I wanted to go home about 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah, right, you did.
What got my dance moves up, boys?
James Costley asks, what was the best moment of your career, Derek?
Best moment of my career.
Apart from this.
Yeah, well.
This beats it all. I mean,
it's the pinnacle.
Best moment of my career. It's difficult to say that because I've had quite a few. I mean, representing Ireland was amazing, and having Jack Charlton involved as, you know, he was involved in the B squad when we beat England 4-1. And Jack Charlton was always around the place, and, you know, God rest his soul, he was an amazing man, him.
Tell people, Derek, how important it was for you. You know what I mean, being a proud Irishman to represent your country, because you know what I mean. For me, it's a pinnacle of your career, isn't it? For me,
he was a god in Ireland. They absolutely loved him. I mean, to the point, I've heard some of the stories recently, but the Irish people absolutely. Now you know what the Irish people like at times. They're very wary of the English people because you're from the mainland, right? But Jack Charlton's come over there, and to actually an Englishman to manage Ireland and to take him to the tournaments he did do and capture the imagination of Ireland fans in particular, absolutely revered, to the point that he could fish anywhere in Ireland. He didn't need a permit. He could just go where he wanted. Never paid for drinks because he'd sign checks, and the landlord would never cash the check in. He'd put it on the wall behind and frame it. Never bought for a drink in his life. But in terms of him, he brought a winning mentality to Ireland, the Ireland team. And he had some good footballers in that team as well. No, decent footballers, but he had a system. And his system was to get the ball as quickly as forward and play in their area. And he was such a top man to know, and to be able to play for as well, even though it was in the B internationals. Great man he was. And I think
the tough thing for you though, Derek, at the time when you came through, especially the Ireland team, how strong that team was getting as well, though. You know what I mean? How strong the group was, because what I mean, it had a really, really strong group, and I do put that down to the manager. You know that he inherited a really good side.
I think it was 1990. I played for the B squad, and we beat England 4-1 in Cork, and they had Tony Adams and people playing. And I missed out on the squad in 1990 by about 3 places. And I think if I'd have been probably further down my career at United, then I probably would have had more of a chance. Yeah. And that's probably one of the reasons why I left.
In hindsight, Del, have you got like a bit of kind of I don't know, disappointment or frustration that you didn't make, like the first team of the Irish, because you represented them at various levels, 21s, the B team, youth levels. Is there like a bit of frustration looking back, or are you happy with the exceptional career that you had?
Probably, I'm very frustrated I didn't play for the senior team, yeah. Probably more so for my family.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look, if you get to put your national shirt on at any level, it's such a major thing for you. It's I can't describe. Andy could probably describe it as well. You can't describe it. It's a different feeling than making your debut for your club, or one of my better memories at Cardiff City is, we got promoted against Shrewsbury.
I also don't think, Derek, that you expect it as well. And I know this might sound a bit corny and a bit stupid, but I think when you play football, you expect to play for your club because there's an expectation that you should do. But your country, for me, is that bonus. And when you get that call up, you're still probably not expecting to play. You're just thinking, I'm making the numbers up. And then when you get on the bench, I'm not going to get on. And then then you get on, or you start, and then you get the cap, or you get your shirt, and it's just for me, it's the pinnacle of any young boys or any dream. You know what I mean? For me, I've always been a proud Englishman. I've always wanted to play for my country. You know what I mean? You see how proud the Gareth Bales are for this world to play for his country, and obviously Derek's no different, wanting to play for Ireland. So it's the same thing. It's such a highlight side to play for your country, and no one can ever take it away from you, because when it's happened, and it is what it is, and you know what I mean. It's just I get Derek's frustration that he wished he had, but you know what I mean. He got further down the line than a lot of people did, so he should have been proud what he achieved.
Yeah, I think Dal's frozen up a bit there. So we'll go on. So one of the questions, and which I'll ask Derek now, is Lee asked Derek who's the biggest drinker he's come across in all the clubs that you've been at. And could they keep up with you? So I'll ask the same question to you.
Oh, could they keep up with me? I think it was the other way around. I was fortunate to obviously be around the Brian Robsons, the Viv Andersons, the Gordon McQueens, the Paul Gascoignes, the Paul Mersons. You know what I mean? So there was obviously quite a huge drinking culture at the time within football when I came through, and you know what I mean. Socialising was played a big part, and it was play hard, party harder. You know what I mean. It was great. It was a really, 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 really nice time to be involved and play football, because it was, you know what I mean. But you didn't want to not join in, because you didn't want to alienate yourself from doing that. But could I keep up with them? No, because they were seasonal pros at it. You know what I mean. You have your own little group, your own little crew where you go out, and it's a little bit more civilized, and it doesn't cost you as much money, and it's nice. But drinking and socializing had a huge impact in eras, and especially my era and Derek's era. But I still believe it happens now, because people need a release.
Yeah, 100%. They just do it in the houses, probably a lot more.
Yeah, and they're in their own bars and things. Yeah.
So just while we wait for Derek to come back in, we'll discuss what we're doing on Wednesday. Wednesday, that'll be fun.
I'm really looking forward to it.
It's going to be something different.
I think because there's so much at stake for loads of clubs. If anybody doesn't know, we are doing a watch along to Gillette Soccer Saturday or Wednesday, whatever it'll be called on Wednesday. So obviously all the goals going in. We're going to talk about all the goals which are affecting the Championship. Obviously Cardiff getting in the playoffs, Middlesbrough escaping relegation, West Brom or Brentford getting promoted, Swansea City missing out on the playoffs, and relegation to be dealt with. It's going to be such a good show, and something what a lot of people have been asking for. So we've caved in, and we're going to give it a go, because if it works, we're going to hopefully watch a live game towards the end of the season. If not playoffs, maybe a cup final. Hopefully, we've spoken about, haven't we? We won't.
So
do anything more. We've got Champions League, Europa League,
playoff final, Championship final,
FA Cup final,
Champions League, Europa League. So there's loads, isn't there?
Yeah, there's plenty of games which we could do. So if this is something which you're keen for us to explore, I'm
get involved.
I'm very happy to do it. As I say, it's something that listen, we started this side, didn't we? What, 12 weeks ago, 13 weeks ago, and this is took off to another level. And I can't believe the situation and where we are now. We've got guests like Derek Brazil. We had Emil Heskey, Stewie Downing, Charlie Adams, Robert Earnshaw, Graham Kavanagh, Mehmet Dalman, Adrian Bevington. Apologies if I've missed you out. There's been too many to mention, and it's just
and
been,
there's some great
amazing.
ones still to come as well, mate.
Well, and the list we've
next
got
few weeks
in the next month to 6 weeks is endless, and it's a credit to us for the hard work that we put in, and it's also a credit to you guys, because everybody who's watched, we couldn't do it without your help and support, and Wednesday is going to be hopefully to give something back to you lot. So, and we've got some good plans as well for a supporters evening as well, haven't we? So watch this space.
Yeah, you got some fun stuff planned, ready for when the season finishes, and we got a few weeks of no championship. So we, instead of ending the Friday show, we're going to keep it going, but we're going to vary it up a bit. We're going to have a couple of guests. We're going to do some bits and pieces. So you just got to keep your eyes peeled.
Lee's put a question on the thing. Stick it on, please. Listen, that does not surprise me one little bit. You know that I did hear a whisper when he took over that he wasn't interested in taking a penny.
I heard he doesn't want the job next year either.
He, you know what I mean. I think, listen, he's got a really good relationship with Steve Gibson. When I spoke to him 2 years ago, when I came down to watch Cardiff against Middlesbrough, he told me that we had a good chat, by the way. He told me that there was one football club which he had a regret in not managing, and that was Middlesbrough Football Club, because he's had an amazing relationship with the chairman, and that was his only regret, that he'd turned him down that many times. I think he turned him down 6 or 7 times in his life, which is just crazy. So he never thought he was going to get an opportunity, and then listen, I do believe he saved my football club. I do believe that they wouldn't be in the Championship next season if it wasn't for Sir Neil Warnock doing what he's done. And he's had an absolutely amazing career. And I was absolutely devastated for him the way it finished at Cardiff City. So for me, if he can keep Middlesbrough up on Wednesday, which I do believe he will, and he wants to pack in and never manage again, that's a perfect way to go out. He's left his career, his season on a high, because he probably would have left Cardiff after the season, which could have been in the Premier League, it could have been in the playoffs, and that would have been a special season as well. So he's done exactly what he needed to, and what it says on the tin, because he is that good.
100%, mate. I think it didn't end great with him for Cardiff. So if he can finish his career by saving Middlesbrough, I think that's a nice way for him to go out. I think you are tempting fate. You are, with Middlesbrough staying up, Cardiff are getting in the playoffs. You're trying to kill me.
No, I'm not. Listen. I've got faith. Because there's method in me madness. You know, man. I've studied every eventuality possible.
Every permutation.
Cardiff City need a point. I can't see that not happening. Middlesbrough have to lose against Sheffield Wednesday, and then the 3 below them, Birmingham, Luton Town, and they have to win, and I just can't see it happening. You know, Barnsley can't catch them, but they can still stay up, but they can't catch Middlesbrough. It'll be catastrophic if Middlesbrough go down. Of course it will, but if they do slip through the trap door, and then the 3 worst teams and deserve to go down, but I just can't see it happening. I can't see every team below them winning and them losing on Wednesday night.
Yeah, I do agree. It's just, superstition there. So a couple of comments there. Richie says, has there been a specific date for the new season to start? Will there be, or do you think a winter break could come into the Premier League and the Football League like they have in Germany?
Richie, we spoke about this on Friday, and this was a little bit one of my bugbears. I had a bit of a rant about it, that the EFL has come out with a ridiculous start date with 2 dates on it, and they're not even consecutive weeks. The 1 week and then miss a week and the following 2 weeks. So it's confusing, and I'm not sure whether they're all starting at the same time as well. I know obviously there's going to be no supporters in the grounds. I presume no one's confirmed that, but I'm just presuming. For me, UEFA should just say football's starting the new season 2020-2021 on this date, end of, and then everyone knows get fit for this date. We're starting the season, and then it's clear. It's clear at the minute.
Well,
it's as clear as mud, and everyone's starting at different days. Some probably won't start, and everyone's confused because we all want to be run the same way, and that's in England, Scotland, Germany, France, Sweden. Do you know what I mean? We all want to be run in the same way. I know Sweden have a different season than we do, so that's a ridiculous statement. But for me, starting the same day, and then we move on, because Champions League for next season is going to have to start on a certain date. So, you know,
well, mate, this is what we've been saying in the lockdown, wasn't it? Is FIFA should have stepped in and just said, right, this is the date the seasons are finishing, or this is this is that. But they just don't want to seem to take responsibility. Craig says Cardiff have released season ticket prices today and go on sale from Wednesday. What do you think about that, when nobody knows when supporters will be allowed back in?
Confused.
Jack started to sell theirs in December.
I'm confused, and I'm confused because if you're not allowed in until January, do you pay now and then only pay for the half of the season, or are clubs doing it so they get the money? And listen, I'm not having to go Cardiff City here. Every single club's going to do the same thing, but are fans getting the money back if they don't go to games?
Well, I mean, what they could do is they could give him the iFollow thing, couldn't they? In the time being or something, and then
it's just a strange one, Si. It's not like it's different. It's uncertain times. I do fully understand, and I know some teams are really struggling financially. Cardiff are lucky that they've got a chairman in the football club who's run the right way. But you know what I mean. That we spoke earlier about, there's clubs who were run very differently and are going to really struggle and need supporters through the gates for their financial survival, really, which is quite scary.
And Craig says no full pay, no refund, just online viewing. Kelly says the iFollow would only be for home games, which I can't believe that is the case, but I suppose season tickets for home games. Richie says he hasn't heard anything about renewing his season ticket yet. And he also says none of them clowns know what they're doing. Half the time, the reports say that fans would possibly be allowed during October internationals. It's England versus Wales on October the 8th at Wembley. I think he's all about FIFA there. I'm just waiting for Derek's typing. Right, we'll see what he says now. So if you've got any questions, guys, send them in.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait for Wednesday. It'll give us a chance to try something different. Give us a chance to talk about something that we've had a passion in, because everyone who's followed us since the start of the season, we've studied the championship inside and out. So to finish the way that we're finishing, I'm really excited about, because you know that we made all these silly predictions at the start of the season. So if anybody's followed all the way through and remembers Preston, remembered Blackburn, every time we pick a team, and I think that's size points. Every time I pick a team, we do curse them. But I look at Swansea side on Wednesday. They're playing probably the most informed side in the league in Reading. So you know, I mean, they've got a really hard game. Mark Bourne won't want to do them any favours.
No,
you know, I mean, he's going to want to finish the season on a high. He's got next season in mind. He's potentially going to get manager of the month if he's.
So Derek just sent me a message saying his phone blew up in his hand, so he can't do anything at the moment, and he won't charge it. It won't charge. He won't do anything. So he said he'll come back at a different time, which is a bit gutting, because we were just kind of getting going, and we didn't really touch on it too much of his career, which is a shame. But I figured there was some sort of issue, because he kind of disappeared and didn't message or anything.
So apologies, because obviously that's twice in 3 weeks. So we've got
technology, mate.
Yeah, we've got some amazing guests coming. By the way, over the next few weeks. So we might even be able to announce next Monday's guest, Si, if I can.
Yeah, go on. You crack on, mate.
If I can get on me phone.
Make sure you got it the right order, though, because I think the one you told me yesterday was the wrong way around, but
Was it
I might
really?
be wrong. Yeah, I think so. But
I can't get my phone at the minute because Derek's trying to ring me. Is he ringing you?
he doesn't realise we're still live, I don't think. So yeah, guys, send in some questions and we'll answer some questions to finish off. And make sure, like I say, spread the word about Wednesday, because we will, if we get a good audience and people are getting involved and enjoying it on Wednesday, then we'll do some more towards the end of the season with the finals, the playoff finals, Champions League and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, we can't do anything about technology at the moment. It's frustrating, but
yeah. So
is what it is.
Next Monday, so Monday the 27th of July, we have got a Welsh international footballer named of David Cotterill. So I'm really excited to have David on the show. He's been a long time target of us both. So he's got such an interesting story, by the way. So please tune in and get your questions at the ready, because he's obviously had. He's a big believer in mental health. He's had an amazing career. He obviously played a big part for his country. Very good club career. Scored plenty of goals, big goals in big games. So really excited to have David on the show next Monday. So it'll be really, really, really good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, mate. I think, won't it? I'm really looking forward to having a chat with him. Obviously, former Wales international, played for Swansea. Born in Cardiff, which is an interesting combination. He grew up a Cardiff City fan, so be an interesting conversation to just to hear about the kind of logistics of that. He used to take dreadful abuse. I've talked about it before on shows, like about some of the things that used to get said to him when he was warming up for Swansea as a sub. Unbelievable. Lee there says Cardiff have said if the stadiums are opened with reduced capacity, then the season ticket holders will get priority. And also Craig says if you have to go into a self-isolation, you still pay. I can see the club needs to plan as the transfer window's open. I suppose they have got to raise money, haven't they? So,
well, listen, Si, they're a business end of the day. You know what I mean? Mehmet obviously came on and told us the situation the club's in at the minute, and it's a scary situation. So the club needs everybody's support, and that's the same as any football club, by the way. So you know what I mean? It's a Middlesbrough, it's Cardiff, it's Brentford, it's Derby. The world's in a financial mess, and football's no different, because footballers are still getting paid. They're still doing their job, but at the minute, football clubs aren't making the money what they need to survive.
Yeah, it's spot on. They got to do what they got to do, I suppose. But it's the lack of communication and clarity, which I think people find frustrating. David Cotterill plays for Barrytown at the moment.
Right, okay. James asked a good question.
Yeah, I was just going back to that there.
Easy and hard, as I'll explain that. So it was easy for me because obviously there was English players there, but hard in terms of I understood the English and Welsh divide. I understood the hostility between Cardiff and English supporters. So you know what I mean. But listen, if you run through a brick wall for a football club and you try your hardest going into every game and every training session, then supporters are going to respect you as one of their own. And I spent a good and very happy 4 years at Cardiff City, and I love the place, and I've got a really good relationship with probably about 99% of Cardiff City fans. So they've treated me well, and I've also repaid the favour as well. So, but it's difficult. I remember. I'll tell a story. I went to watch Wales against England at the Millennium Stadium in a World Cup qualifier, and I sat in the Wales end and watching the game, and England had a goal disallowed, and a few England fans jumped up around me and got themselves in a bit of bother because obviously it wasn't the right thing to do, and as the game was going on, it was 0-0 going into the last 5 minutes, and then Joe, I don't know if you remember, but Joe Cole scored I think he scored just before the end. It must have been about 88th, 87th minute to pop up and score the winner. And the amount of people who English fans just spotted around where I was sat was just crazy. And it was just like, listen, I was a proud Englishman. I wanted to jump up and celebrate the goal of my country, but I also had respect for people who I was with and respect for where I was sat to think this isn't happening, you know. So I did the right thing, and when England scored, straight away I got up off my seat once things had calmed down and went out and celebrated in my own little way in the street because it was just the right thing to do. But it was just, I think that my point is that English people do get maybe sometimes a raw deal if they come from certain clubs. But you know what I mean. For me, like I said, if you run through a brick wall, Neil Harris, Swansea City, played for Cardiff City. Sorry, not Swansea City. Played and managed Millwall. Came to Cardiff City. You know what I mean? The fans adore him now. You know what I mean? Because he's doing the right thing and he's working wonders for the football club. So you know what I mean? People's fortunes can be turned around very quickly.
Indeed, they can. I got some more breaking news. Mr. Derek Brazil will be joining us on Wednesday for the watch along for a little bit. If that's all right with you, sir.
All right, okay.
But he said he sends his apologies. He feels very guilty that he was not able to complete the show because he was really enjoying it. So we'll say that hopefully we can work something out for Wednesday. Even if he doesn't join us for the whole show, he'll pop in and join us and answer some questions of the people. So yeah, spread the word so people can get their questions answered, and we'll talk some championship and see watch Cardiff blow it in the final seconds.
Whoever you support, come and join us. You know, just stick it on while you're watching along with the results going in, the goals going in, because from 7:30 kickoff, it's going to be electric because I'm guessing people are going to be down 1 minute, up the next, promoted 1 minute.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, the next, outside the playoffs, inside the playoffs, it's going to be an eventful evening because everything's to play for apart from the league title. Everything is to play for.
Oh yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be like our own little version of like Soccer Saturday or whatever, Sky Sports News, isn't it? So it'll be interesting. See if it works. See if people are interested in it, and if they are, we'll keep doing them and extra content and stuff. And you know, it's a good way to do it. And you know, there's other ways we can do it as well in the future if people do like it. Whereby, you know, I can watch one game, you can watch a game. We can have Sky Sports News on as well, and we can do whatever. Or we can do watch-alongs for Cardiff games, Boro games. Like you say, it's loads of stuff. But plenty to do. So it's all thrown me a bit there with Derek having to leave prematurely, which is a shame because I was enjoying it. But can't do much about that. Unfortunately, technology is what it is. And it's completely out of mine and Andy's hands, unfortunately. But yeah, is what it is. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, guys. Spread the word. We've got lots of really good guests, and I think it's the next few weeks are particularly good for Welsh football fans. Whisper it, don't tell anyone.
Yep.
But David Cottrell next week.
Massive.
Yeah, and they only get better after that. Massive thank you to Black Diamond Sports as always, and of course Bespoke Financial and Darren Ralston for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate their support and time. Wednesday, 7:15, mate.
Yeah. Live at 7:15. Yeah.
7:15. We'll be here live. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Subscribe to youtube.com/A.C.E Podcast Nation. And Kelly just guessed, is Gareth Bale coming on the show?
Maybe. The growth, the rapid of the growth, potentially you probably will.
At some point he will be, I'm sure, because that's where it's going at the moment. It's getting ridiculous. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. Again, apologies. Technical hitches cannot be helped, as Richie just said in the comments, but still frustrating and still disappointing. So thank you all for joining us, and we will see you Wednesday, 7:15 for the watch along for the last day of the championship season.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told Mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
I belong to you.
I belong to you.
Do just what you want.